Welcome to Addicted to Busy, the podcast specifically for overachieving property managers who are dying for a little more work-life balance in their lives. Each week, we dismantle all the BS that holds us back. You'll learn how to nix those tricky, self-sabotaging habits so that you have the time, energy, and motivation to create what you really want in life. If you're looking to shift from overcommitted to overjoyed, this is the podcast for you. Let's do this. Now, your host, Anna Havliana.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Addicted to Busy. My name's Anna Havliana. I'm your host, and this is a podcast all about the elusive work-life balance for busy property managers. So I'm just going to jump right into what I want to talk about today, which is what is your why for property management? As we know, this is a challenging industry, and at times it can be a very thankless job. We are fielding expectations and requests from various places, mostly from our tenants or our residents, and then the ownership groups and investment companies that we work for. That said, there are plenty of days where emotions can run high, when people make you out to be someone that you're not. Many renters don't have positive associations with their management companies because they think of them as landlords, which doesn't always have a great connotation. Other times you are managing difficult conversations. And there are certainly times where I've thought to myself, why the hell am I even doing this anymore? I've also heard many of my clients say, I don't know if this is for me anymore. I don't know if I can keep doing this. So this is why it's important to have a why. I first heard of the Find Your Why concept from Simon Sinek. I think he actually has a book called Find Your Why, but where I first heard about it was a TED Talk that he did like 10 or 12 years ago. And over the years, I have had various whys for various goals. And over the years, those goals and respective whys have shifted and morphed. Okay. In residential management, especially, you got to have a why. Okay. We are dealing with people's homes. We're handling money on behalf of investors. We're creating the environments that our teammates work in. And ultimately, we are affecting the communities that our properties lie within. Right. And it really isn't easy. You have to deliver exceptional service to your residents. You need to meet the expectations of your ownership. You've got to fulfill all of your deadlines to the corporate office, and then you have to do all of that within budget. There are days that are just plain challenging. You're constantly interrupted. Residents can lose their cool. Your team could lose their cool. And then ultimately, sometimes we make mistakes that we have to go back and fix. It's in those moments when the overwhelm starts to creep in that it can be useful to have your why. When I think of why I choose to show up to my property every day, it's because when someone lives at your property becomes a chapter in their life story. I know for myself, when I'm trying to recall a certain memory that happened, the first thing that I do is I try to remember, where was I living at the time that that memory initially happened? I remember my life in chapters that are kind of designated by the places that I've lived, right? I always think to myself, oh yeah, that happened when I lived in the townhome, or that happened when I lived in the apartment by myself, or that happened when I lived with my roommate, Sammy, right? So I remember my life by the chapters based on where I lived. So it's gratifying to know that the work that I do at my property and that the work that my team does, we are going to create memories that people will remember. The work that we do is potentially going to be the background of one of the chapters of their book, right? I think of, we just recently had a resident who used the community room to propose to their girlfriend. And I think over the years of the couples that I've seen who have moved into their first apartments together, or the couples who welcomed their first child into the world. When I worked in commercial management, I really loved working with the smaller businesses. There's two in particular that I can think of. One of them was a CrossFit gym, and then the other one was a private dance studio, right? And small business owners, they have a lot at stake. They're the ones who are really brave enough to place a bet on themselves and go after their dreams. So it was an honor to care for the space that housed their business and housed their dreams. Another thing that I really love about property management is playing a part in brightening up or refreshing a building or a community or a certain part of town. When I was in industrial management, I remember that our team managed, it was an old office building that went vacant, and we helped manage a big set of capital projects that basically improved the exterior of what looked like an abandoned warehouse. And throughout the months over that summer that we were working on it, it was so gratifying to see this crappy, overgrown parking lot really transform into a welcoming space with manicured landscaping and new asphalt. It was really nice to see the building get painted, to see the windows get replaced. And to this day, when I drive past that building, I still feel proud of the work that our team did. And I feel good knowing that the time that I put into that property is now affecting the community around it. Another thing that I think of is some of the sad reasons why people rent. I think of the woman who was recently widowed, or we just rented to someone who was just recently getting divorced. So, in property management, we are there for people both in the good times, but also the bad times, right? Think about the apartment that I currently live in. I don't take for granted that I have a clean, comfortable space to live in. And each night I go to bed with deep, deep, deep gratitude for my home. And when I wake up in the morning, I get to go help provide that space to other people. Now, this all sounds sweet, cheery, maybe even a little corny, to be honest. But some days it is difficult for me to access that why. There are days where I just want to yell swear words and slam my office door shut. There are some days that I am frustrated that it seems like I can't even get 15 minutes of work done without an interruption. And I have certainly had days where I have lost my cool and lost my patience. And I've had to learn how to A, recenter myself within those uncomfortable moments, and then B, apologize for my behavior. In my opinion, it is very helpful if you clarify your why in advance. Because if you don't have a reason why you do this work in advance, it is certainly not going to show up when you have already lost your patience. Identifying your why reminds me of this list of values from the book The Happiness Trap by Russell Harris. So, this is a book that I read years ago. And when I work with clients, I use this values list that he created. And we choose our values in advance so that as we progress through the week, we can make sure that we kind of have like a guiding light of what we're trying to focus on, right? Having your list of values helps guide our actions to be in line with the person that we want to be. It gives us a foundation to base our actions on. And having a why for why you're in property management can have the same effect. Now, we can all have different flavors of why. Your why for property management might be because you want good money to support your family. Your why might be because you love the community that the property is in, or maybe you're working at a historical building and you love that building. Your why for property management might be that it's because this is your family's business. I know that one of my reasons for why I am in property management is because it's a career that allows me to live a comfortable lifestyle and also travel from time to time. Now, I don't live in luxury and I certainly don't travel in luxury, but based on the income that I have and then the work-life balance that I've had, I have been able to create really meaningful experiences that I'm always going to cherish. For example, I have been to the Philippines twice. I have been to Europe 3 times. I've been to Mexico, and I'm going to Ireland in a couple months as well. And this really is in line with what I want to create in my life. I'll also say that taking time off of work also comes with the added challenge of getting all your ducks in a row in advance so that you can truly enjoy your time off when it comes. And again, that's tough work that's likely going to require a lot of work on the front end. So it's worth it to have that why close by. I remember the second time that I took a 3-week vacation to the Philippines. I did it over the holidays. So I did it in December over into January. And that was a tough year. I had to ration out my PTO very, very carefully. It meant that I had to say no to so many other opportunities throughout the year. And the FOMO was real, right? I had to put in plenty of long days leading up to that trip so that A, my team and my supervisor could cover my duties while I was gone, but then B, I wanted to make sure that our clients trusted that even though I was going to be gone for almost a month, that the level of service that we were going to provide them wasn't going to be compromised. So prepping for the trip, not fun, not fun whatsoever. It was a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights, a couple days that I had to work on the weekend. But I was absolutely willing to do it because I knew that all of those extra hours were going to be worth the experience that I was about to have. I think many of us are familiar with the concept of having a why, but a lot of us only ponder it or think about it and don't actually take the time to write it out. So if you're currently listening to this podcast while driving or multitasking, you're less likely to stop and take intentional time to consider your own why and then document it. But I encourage you to do just that. Okay, so make time in your day or over your weekend to just spend time considering what your why is. At first, it may seem vague, it may seem a little awkward, but sometimes just writing something out or playing around with ideas is going to help you narrow in on what matters most to you. Now, I will also give the caveat that I have had plenty of whys that didn't necessarily get me to where I actually wanted to go. Okay, so for example, when my overworking was at its peak, I once went into the office at 3 a.m. And what was my why for that? It certainly wasn't because I was trying to better our communities or better the lives of our residents. It was because I was angry within my personal life. I wasn't showing up to the office out of a place of love and care for the community. I was showing up because I felt insecure and I needed validation. As I was writing out this episode, I was actually kind of cringing over some of my past behavior. And I even think to myself, like, if I had asked myself back in the day, why were you at the office at 3 a.m.? I don't think that version of me had the self-awareness to know that I was doing it from a place of insecurity. That version of me probably would have said, oh, I just couldn't sleep. And even at that, like, even if you couldn't sleep at 3 a.m., why not just like do some chores around the house or flip on a TV show to relax so that you don't have to drive to the office? Again, my why at that time was very, very shallow, and I was completely unaware of how shallow it was. This again is why I encourage you not to just listen to this episode, but to actually do the work. Because when you have to, what do I want to say? When you have to reconcile or ponder why you do certain things that you do, you might find that not all of your intentions are good. And that's good to know so that you can course correct. I hope that as you're listening, that you are starting to get ideas and compiling reasons for why you do what you do. Right now, and let me be clear that creating a solid list of whys It doesn't mean that you're going to brainwash yourself into loving a job that you hate. If you truly hate your job, it's on you to figure out how to get out of it. But connecting with those reasons why you do what you do, that is what allows you to weather the storms. It is what allows you to keep pushing through even when the workload seems insurmountable. I would love to hear about what you come up with. So if you feel so inclined, I would love it if you would email me your list of whys you are in property management. You can email it to hello@annahavliana.com. That's hello@ANNAJAV as in vacation, ELLANA.com. All right, everyone. Until next time, I love you. Keep going.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Addicted to Busy. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This helps others find the show, and we greatly appreciate it. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.